There you go.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a great panel from our Duval County School District to help us with Teacher Talk today. And my name is Patty Palmer. I am the coordinator of Career and Employer Services.
And good afternoon and welcome to Teacher Talk as well. You're going to learn an awful lot about your next steps in going forward to become a professional educator. And I'm Dr. O'Farrell, Director of Academic Support and Information Services at the University of North Florida.
And good day as well. My name is Laura Bowes. I'm the Executive Director for Staffing with Duval County Public Schools.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alex Marks. I am one of the staffing supervisors with Duval County Public Schools as well.
Thank you. So thanks for joining us today. And as Dr. O'Farrell noted, this is our first virtual Teacher Talk session. And our Teacher Talk session is really just a chance for everyone to come together. And our goal today is to help interns understand what's next for them. So we share personal experiences and provide guidance that will assist you on your journeys. So there's a series of questions we'll ask and some different topics of discussion that we know are important to you. And we'll just get started, and I'll jump right in and ask the first question, which is the hiring procedures. So what are your hiring procedures and the expectations that the students should have when applying to a position with Duval County, especially given the pandemic, if anything has changed with that?
All right, so our hiring procedures generally begin with the application. Our careers page, will provide a link where you can actually submit an application. As a graduating intern, one of the things you don't have to worry about, it will ask you to attach your credentials such as your transcripts, and we realize you do not have those transcripts at this time. So there is a drop down that provides you the opportunity to choose that you're a graduating intern, and this way you can avoid that and continue with the submission of your application. You can even indicate on your application the year for which you're applying, whether it's the current year or the upcoming year. So I will speak to the COVID-19 and how it has impacted all of our lives, your personal lives as well as our professional lives. So at this time, for this current school year, for the 1920, we're not processing hires. We don't have a platform to be able to do some things virtually in order keeping everyone safe and healthy. So we kind of ceased that, but we are making plans for the upcoming year for onboarding during the summer. I envisioned it to be a virtual process so that everybody's safe and everybody's secure until we all have that go ahead that we can start, resuming some degree of normalcy in our lives.
And we are planning our first ever virtual hiring fair as well, hopefully sometime in that first week of June, and you'll be able to get information on that on our main website as well for registration for that fair. And it will be like each school will have their own booth, and so your interns will be able to go to each school and interview virtually with the principals, and we're still working out the final details on that, but that's going to be one of our new pieces that results from this COVID situation.
And so what we're doing with the virtual approach is we will, since we have 160 schools, we're going to kind of divide it up, because you going in and having 160 booths to enter is a bit much. So we'll take a day frame and divide it up, like 8 to 11, there'll be a cluster of schools. 11 to 1, there'll be another cluster, and then 1 to 3. So I strongly recommend that once we have our platform up, that you register for all 3 events, because the different schools will be in the different sessions.
Great, thank you. That's a lot of information just in that first question. And you're right. I mean, we're all learning how to do things virtually. And so as you plan along, you guys will have more information that you'll be able to share on your site and also with us that we can share with the students. So that's great.
I would assume that when they do go into this virtual career fair and they go to the different booths, that they should be professional in terms of their appearance and what they say and their demeanor virtually. Just would be doing it if it were face-to-face.
Correct. The platform that we're going to adopt is Brazen, and it's a chat platform. And so regardless that the principal may not see you, he or she does see your resume, and they can get a feel based on some questions that they'll be asking you to respond to, and then they'll follow up with what a go-to webinar meeting. All of our principals have 3 platforms they can use: Skype for interviews, Microsoft Teams, and GoToWebinar. So they each all have those accounts with which they can then connect with you to do a virtual interview.
And I would say, if anything, for the interns interviewing, especially in the chat room, which tends to have a more informal feel, just to remember to keep that conversation professional, friendly, but professional, because you are making an impression in that chat room, just like you would be when you're sending an email to a principal or potential employer.
Great tips. Definitely, always be professional. One of my questions too, I guess, is if a student reaches out to a principal, maybe they're interested in interviewing with a specific school and they reach out to a principal. How does that process work? And would that principal be able to see their paperwork or their documentation if they went online and did it?
So if you have submitted an application, principals see all of the pool of applicants who are interested for the 2021 school year. So once we've reviewed your credentials and made sure you were eligible, we change your status in our system to applicant for the 2021 school year. Principals see all of that. They can email you through that system. They have your resume, your application, and they can see all of that and reach out and communicate with you. When you want to reach out to a principal, you can let the principal know you're interested, advise that you have an application, and encourage them to go on and review your application. And then you can schedule time with that principal to interview. I know principals are interviewing now, determining which candidates they're interested in for the upcoming year. And through that same system, the principal can put in what's called a recommendation to hire.
Mm-hmm. Great. Very good. So on to another question. What are some methods of support that are available to first-year teachers?
Right. We have a number of support, a whole safety net of supports, if you will, for our teachers in their first and second year. As soon as you are hired on and onboarded, we provide you at that onboarding a kind of basic introduction to the way of work in Duval County, from learning where your curriculum is online to how to use the online gradebook, laptop information, our safety and support systems that we have in place at each school to develop that climate and culture. So you get all of that when you're onboarded right there at the front end. And then when you get to your school, you are assigned through your professional development facilitator, you are assigned a mentor who will be there with you on site every day. It could be someone in that same grade level. It could be somebody that teaches the same content as you, but it's a strong veteran teacher that's there to mentor you. You also have built-in common planning with your department or grade level each week that will help you everything from classroom management to pedagogy and helping you meet those school goals. And then you have monthly early release professional development sessions at each school as well. On top of all of that, every school has a district specialist. We have an entire department called our Teacher Development and Support Department, and they have a network of specialists that are assigned to schools, and they can come out and model lessons for you, assist with you. They do trainings every month based on different domains of teaching, again, from classroom management to professional growth, and everything in between. So we have all of those systems in place for our first and second year teachers to help them grow.
Yep, she covered it all.
Yeah, I mean, my next question was, how would they be able to find those resources? And I think you
Sure. So again, when they come into onboarding, they will, and this may, again, look a little different virtually, but typically they're going to receive their laptops, and we will walk through, each department walks through with the new teachers where to access your curriculum, where to access your grade book, where to access those professional learning resources that all of our teachers have access to. So the hope and the dream is that before they even get into pre-planning, they've already got their laptop and they kind of know the basics of where everything is. And then during pre-planning at their particular school, they will get more specifics on, okay, this is grade 3 curriculum, or this is biology curriculum, and here's how to use your grade book, here's how to access the ESE accommodations, any of those pieces.
Thank you. Okay, so this is one of my favorite questions. What are some examples of what to do and what not to do as first-year teacher?
So I'll take that. What I say that you should do is let the support system you have know the needs that you have. If you drowning is a silent event, and if you don't share that you have concerns or you need help, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, because guess what? You won't know. There are things that will come at you that you're like, I never thought about this, or this strategy is not working. So just use your support system to build your pedagogy.
I would also say, don't give up. The first year is going to be hard. Like Laura said, using your support system will really help you, but just expect that you're going to be tired. You're going to lose your voice. It's going to be tough, but don't give up. That's what not to do. Don't give up, because it will get better, and you will find your groove. It takes the average teacher a couple of years to really feel comfortable in presenting their content and getting your management skills down and your ability to develop effective routines and rituals. So that would be my other first thing to say to do, would be make sure you do establish those routines and rituals as soon as you can in that classroom. That's going to help you get through to the actual teaching of your lessons, is if you've got those routines and rituals. Students need structure, we need structure. All of that really helps give you the room you need to actually deliver your content.
So I will say is, don't listen to some of your peers sometimes. There's a tendency sometimes for some people to be negative, and you want to surround yourself with positive people who are going to build you up. Just like your parents probably told you, you don't have a friend who doesn't make you a better person. And that's the same thing as far as the peers that you hang around with in your building.
Absolutely. Yeah.
At the same time, what you might also want to do is to actually establish some relationships with teachers at different levels in their career in the building that you're in, so that you have some go-to individuals that you can ask those questions of, that you might feel comfortable with, that have been through the kinds of questions and concerns and issues that you're facing.
I will also say, establish those relationships with everyone from your peer teacher to the custodian to the assistant principal who's the one kind of overseeing your particular area, to the paraprofessionals who are working with you every day, to those ESE push-in teachers. Really know that you're going to kind of need that relationship with a wide variety of people in your school, because it is going to be a joint effort educating those students.
And I will do is to establish and reach out to your parents. When parents only hear from you about the negative things that are happening with their child, they don't realize that you really do care about their child. So opportunities to provide the good of what is working, what's not working, and balance those two, then you can win parents over on your side. When you win that parent over, it's like hook, line, and sinker. So just always remember, make your parents an integral part of educating the student.
And just remaining flexible, never say never, and just remember that regardless of how smart or big your students are, that you are still the teacher and you have a lot of value and education to impart to them. No matter how much they might try to kind of take control, you are still the one who's there to really move them along through their education.
And I say, don't go home more exhausted than they. You're the facilitator, but make them work hard for it.
Yes.
Great. I mean, there's so many things, so many important things to touch on what to do and what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that come to my mind, and I'm not going to continue on this, but the one thing that I would say, and we talked a little bit about this before we even started this session, now more than ever, balance.
Yes.
Trying to find that balance between work and family, because your mental health is just as important, your mental and physical health. So I'll just say that, given this time right now, I think that's probably a good thing to say.
That's great advice.
Okay, so given this wonderful COVID-19 pandemic, which is a daily terminology in everyone's house, it's changed everyone's life. It's changed our professional life. It's changed our personal lives. What can you two and Dr. O'Farrell, the experts, how can you guys help the students understand how this has maybe changed the teaching profession a little bit? And obviously we don't know everything because it's evolving daily and there's always new changes. But what can you think of saying right now to students who are graduating and becoming teachers in this new world that we're living in?
Well, let me take a shot at that first, because having spoken with our interns, they've learned firsthand what it really means to be flexible, adaptable, and to use technology to be able to communicate and to deliver instruction. Mm-hmm. I think that gives them a jump up on individuals who might be entering the profession who haven't had that opportunity to do that. So I think we've learned a lot about our ability to think outside the box, to get inside that box and push it aside, and what we're really capable of doing in the face of dire circumstances.
I would agree. I mean, we all of us in the district are 13,000 employees. In a matter of 3 or 4 days, we all shifted our entire way of work to home-based learning, and it took all of us to get that going. But of course, the teachers are the ones who are dealing with that on an everyday basis. But I do think that coming in, this pandemic situation has really shown, like you mentioned, Dr. O'Farrell, the capabilities of our teachers, but that our teachers are constantly learning themselves, and that kids are resilient as well, and they will adjust to how we are delivering the product or the content. The kids they are willing, they are probably more flexible than we are. But I do think that one thing I've heard several of my teacher friends say is that they're surprised that their kids really do miss the one-to-one interaction that they have in person. That the video is helpful, but a lot of the kids that they are even surprised this student may not have necessarily shown any big interest in school, but suddenly they're very active in the online classroom. It gives them, in some ways, some safer space to speak up, and in some ways, they just want to continue to really have that connection. And I think that is one of the lessons we've all learned is we really we need that connection. Even with those people we may say, oh, do we really? But yes, we do. We really crave those connections with our students and our colleagues.
And so I'll just add, I think we learned that we had tools we weren't using. So as a district, we didn't have to go out and buy anything. We had these tools in place, but it was hit or miss whether or not a teacher was taking advantage of those tools. So just know what is available for your district and make sure that you use those tools to not only your advantage, but to the advantage of your students.
Mm-hmm. Great. Those are all great. And I'm just going to throw the one out there that I've already talked to the students about when I actually had the opportunity to meet with them before this happened. I didn't know how important this word was going to be when I spoke about it, but empathy, being empathetic. I think that is more important now than ever before. And I think as a teacher, it was important before and now so having empathy. Okay, so that pretty much closes it. If there are any other comments that you all have that you think are important to share, feel free to take this opportunity to share something that you think might be important for the students to hear.
Can I just throw something in? Can you talk a little bit about the certification process for our new teacher candidates?
Okay, so our certification supervisor is Keller Grant. I always like to yield to her. She's the guru there. But what I would strongly recommend when it comes to certification, you can always reach out to Mrs. Grant, or you can reach out to one of us. We'll get you connected. But always listen to what the certification office tells you to do, not necessarily what a peer may tell you, or sometimes your principals. I love my principals, but sometimes they don't have the most accurate information. So always ask ahead of time and to find out what should be my actual steps in regards to applying, because I don't want you to apply for something that in the end you've wasted money for that you probably should not have to apply for, and it delays your time. So every school district has a certification office, and they're often much faster than DOE, which I understand they're dealing with one district and DOE is dealing with the entire state. But really use your certification office as a resource and ask those critical questions. When should I apply? How do I submit my information? And just really stick with a guidance that's being provided by your certification office. If you want, you can always send us questions. We can pass it along to them and get some clear, accurate information out there to you. I'll let Alex build on that.
Would you also recommend that if interns are eligible for the ESOL endorsement, that they go ahead and apply for that when they apply for their certification?
Yes, I would. That would save you a little bit of money instead of having to go back and add that at another time. So if whatever you're eligible for that you truly feel that will benefit you, just go ahead and put it on your certificate. Not only does it make it a little bit more marketable, but it may save you some money in the future.
And sooner or later, if you're working in Duval County, as diverse as we are, you're going to have an ESOL student. It's a lot easier if you can just go ahead and add that in right at the beginning.
Now, I do have a question that actually came from an intern. And I don't know whether you all might know the answer to this, but I did say that I would ask. We've had a situation where some of our interns had testing sessions to finish up their exams. Unfortunately, those sessions were canceled. And so they're going to have to apply for a temporary certificate rather than the professional. But some of them applied for the professional before the testing sessions became canceled. Is there a way that they can go back in and change the status from professional to temporary, or the other way, temporary to professional?
So they should be able to go back in and make an adjustment to their application. I know for a fact that this has happened in the past, and to save yourself some time, if that was your case, I recommend that you go back in and you can update your application so that you don't end up delaying the issuance of your temporary and end up getting an notification from DOE that you're not eligible, which is always scary when you get that kind of information. But you should be able to go in and update your application.
With the DOE?
Yes.
Alex, did you have anything?
Not on the certification. I guess in your closing, what you had asked earlier, Patty, just to say that, you know, our UNF graduates are almost always outstanding teacher candidates. And, you know, even though we are in the middle of this very strange situation with the pandemic, we still have 130,000 students, and we're still going to need teachers, regardless of how that looks or how we get them onboarded or what the new face of education may look like. We still need students still need teachers who are going to educate our students, and we're really looking forward to having some of your UNF graduates join our district.
Indeed.
Thank you. And Dr. O'Farrell, thanks for talking about that certification process. It was on my list of questions and somehow I skipped over it. So I appreciate you touching on that. Anything else that we can mention before we close then?
So I'd like to say something that I always, like I love the teacher talk and the opportunity to talk to you, your awesome students. I say when it comes time to look for a position, don't be so eager to take any position. I always say to the candidates that you're interviewing the principal as much as the principal is interviewing you. Make sure that you're going to end up in a position where a leader is going to grow you and develop you. So you really want the type of situation where that leader is invested in you growing as much as you are invested in your students growing. So just don't be afraid to say that I have a few interviews, I'm looking at a few other options. Just be honest and transparent instead of saying yes, and then you look up and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this isn't who the person seemed like in the interview. So just remember that. Choose the best situation where that's a community you can buy into and an administrative team that's going to build you.
I agree with
Will you still be doing open contracts?
Yes, we are. So with the open contract process is where you can interview with district representatives, and we will give you a contract that guarantees you a position with the district. We don't force place you and assign you at a school. With the open contract, we then share your information out, get you connected with principals, and then you can interview with principals to find that best setting for you. So yes, open contracts are ongoing.
Great.
We are conducting virtual interviews for our open contracts. So again, you can request those from either one of us. We are definitely able to do that virtually.
Thank you. And Laura, thanks for those words of wisdom on the interviewing process and taking your time and being selective. I think that's really important to note. Any websites or anything that you want to promote right now before we get started, before we end it, or?
Alex, are you going to introduce your new friends?
My sweet thing said, she's like, Mom,
It's time.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
So you can reach out to us at teach@duvalschools.org. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Even if you want to email me directly, it's bowesl@duvalschools.org. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may come up with that our conversation today has not addressed. So don't hesitate.
Yep, we look forward to seeing you all.
Great. Thanks so much for being part of this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For having us.